So you will enjoy the show and happy to welcome our guest.
And there is no need to do that, to actually touch the crypto. They pay up to $1.5 million. In extreme, super critical cases where, oh my God, the sky fell down to the ground, they will pay $100,000 bonus.
So if we flash back to the two incident to tell to our audience what happened there.
Can we speculate on the
Can
cause?
we speculate on the cause?
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have an amazing and awesome guest from a cybersecurity space. So Marwan from a company called Fears Off. So having a peace of mind, working with them. I have to say some of the fascinating topics you're going to hear today about how exchanges work on their security, how ethical white hat hackers actually investigate how to penetrate into the exchanges and how they actually try to protect your assets, protect your funds, the challenges that the white hat hackers have when they actually submit those reports, what actually happens behind the scenes. And I want to say one of the most fascinating discussions you're going to hear. And on these occasions, you're going to learn a lot how to protect your cryptos and how to survive through the bull market and the bear market that will come later. So you will enjoy the show and happy to welcome our guest. So yeah, I think we can definitely kick it off by asking, because I think it's a very good question, what people might wonder in terms of the security. As an individual, what can they do to not lose their crypto in the bull market that I think objectively we are in? I think like the worst or the most difficult thing to do that I have learned in kind of my 10 years in crypto is the most difficult thing to do is either not to sell or not to lose your crypto. So not to sell is more of an on the soft side. So how not to lose your crypto? What advice, simple advice you would give to, or complex advice you would give to individuals who are in the crypto industry?
Well, the simple advice is do something that you're not used to, outside of your comfort zone. We have grown to become creatures of habit and convenience.
Yes.
And I personally always recommend all my friends try to use a dedicated device for all your crypto trading and whatnot. And for any kind of significant amounts, cold storage, only cold storage. Unfortunately, software wallets, crypto exchanges are not as safe as everyone thinks, no matter how much they advertise that, you know, we're secure and we just got audited. And educate yourself a little bit more about the malwares out there. Unfortunately, we have all to become researchers and keep an ear out and an eye out for all the new threats coming out. Mm-hmm. They're evolving every day, and definitely the basics of avoid phishing and social engineering, which is timeless, and it's not only about crypto. You have scammers out there every day. The only difference is that so many cyber criminals and developers are making this malicious software that even somebody who is technologically illiterate can easily use. Mm-hmm. You can rent them. It's like a MaaS, you know, malware as a service. Some of them, you know, cost you $1,000 USDT a month. Some of them 3,000 a month.
Wow.
And they want a cut of whatever you take. And they're processing all of that so they can see whatever money these people are making. So you gotta stay ahead of the threat, educate yourself, and not download anything, and make sure the people you're interacting with are truly who they are. Mm-hmm. But the basic, before worrying about all these details, is segregate. Segregate your crypto, keep it offline, and whatever crypto you want to interact with on a daily basis, keep it on a dedicated device. It's hard to do. I personally, you know, don't always follow my own advice on certain things, but you know, it's easy to tell people what would be the best way to do it. It's harder to apply it all the time, you know.
But what happens if you lose your keys? Is there the possibility of someone hiring your firm in order to be able to recover? Is it possible to recover?
Well, that's not something we do in terms of recovery of lost keys. There are services out there, and I've actually followed a couple of people, especially in the US. I forgot the name of the firm now, of actually father and son operation that they were actually able to recover a good amount. That's going to be always the main downside whenever you're talking about self-custody. That's why a lot of these people prefer utilizing, not worrying about the custody or hedging against that. But again, not your keys, not your crypto. You never know what can happen. And I've actually met recently, I got to ask Maria about that. She made an introduction with a gentleman who actually helps recover and hack actual hardware wallets. But that's something that it's outside of our scope. Like we don't really deal with that per se.
So what do you deal with? Maybe you can tell a little bit to our audience what is your job, what do you do, what your firm does, and what do you deal with?
Definitely. We deal with cybersecurity in general, and in the past couple of years, we have focused on the Web3 and crypto exchanges in particular. One thing Web3 companies and people involved in Web3 forget about is that the foundation of all this Web3 is still Web2. A lot of these decentralized applications, blockchains, and they're interacting with Web2, with applications to be able to have any kind of user interactions. These are all points of vulnerability. These are all weak spots. So legacy cybersecurity in terms of Web2, network, infrastructure, APIs, this is still the foundation upon which all this Web3 is built upon. And that actually is the bulk of our activity. It's this legacy kind of testing, offensive security testing for these Web3 companies. Smart contract auditing and white paper verification and all these other Web3 specific blockchain audits is, for us, it's still a smaller portion of our activity, although it's growing. But the bulk of our activity really is mainly testing infrastructure. And not to get too technical, my role in the company is mainly that of a translator. Most of our people and my business partner, they're geeks, and they start talking about technicalities, and they lose you quickly. I try to translate what they are actually doing and what they're finding into business continuity impact and how that can affect businesses. In terms of, imagine this scenario where you have actually a whole team of hackers who happen to be ethical and white hat, never doing any criminal or unethical activities, hiring a whole team that simulates in the same way that a team of government-sponsored or criminal organization-sponsored cyber criminal teams that are actually attacking in coordination as like a symphony. I'm not talking about one penetration tester or two trying to find bugs. We try to emulate that, and that actually has allowed us to amplify a lot of our findings and demonstrate to the platforms that we're dealing with of what kind of repercussions or what kind of impact these can have. So offensive cybersecurity is our core business. Some people call it penetration testing, red teaming. There is a step above it, I would say. It's when you actually involve a whole team. We actually grown the company. I mean, we started as a two-man team a couple of years ago. Now we're at 20. So we're looking forward to becoming,
Let's hope you will be 100.
Right. But this is not very scalable because there is so much you can scale a team when you are doing this kind of testing. The reason being is that not only you need the skill set to be able to contribute greatly to the project, but you also need the trust and the ethics. And I know so many people who have never had a parking ticket in their life, who for the right price they would sell their own mother. Honestly, like not I don't know a lot of people, but I know they're out there.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like imagine being in a position that you can exploit a vulnerability and drain tens of millions of dollars out of a hot wallet that you just had access to, thanks to interacting with this team that has achieved this kind of access. So it's a very, very close-knit group of people that my co-founder has worked with since he was a teenager. They participated in many hackathons and competitions, captured the flag, and they've done really well. And all of them have a certain reputation to uphold in the ethical hacker community from each one's country. And it's not something you can scale a lot. That's why we don't see ourselves becoming a 200-man team, because it's just difficult. We're always putting our hand to our hearts whenever we are finding. It's exciting and scary at the same time, because you are finding some critical vulnerabilities that are actually proving to our clients or potential clients how good we are or how much they need us. But at the same time, it's scary as well, because we always hope not to reach the threshold where somebody will be tempted to do the wrong thing. We trust our core team to the max.
But the problem there is, let's say you're doing the wrong thing. You hacked one of these exchanges, and you took these digital assets or virtual assets, whatever you want to call them, Bitcoin. And then are you able then to sell those, or they are flagged from the exchange? So there is many, many steps, I believe, in this process. It's not just taking the treasury of the company, but it's also selling it and cashing it out. So there are many, many steps out there. So this process, I think it's more complex than what people think.
Definitely. And being in the industry, we know that no matter what, somebody that has enough resources and time can always trace. You follow the money. You can use mixers, and you can use Tornado Cash, which in some way will anonymize the origin. But anytime you're doing any kind of movement, and there are a lot of people tracking the blockchain and following the money after all these heists. So we made sure that all of our researchers love to travel, and they don't just want to live either in North Korea or Russia or Brazil where there is no extradition. But actually we all love to travel, and we wouldn't sacrifice that, because we know that there is always a way to trace up to you and get caught. It's not as simple as you said.
It's
definitely.
not as simple, yes.
But some people wouldn't mind retiring in their country with no extradition, with tens of millions or hundreds of millions, and say, okay, I'm not going to travel because where I land, Interpol or FBI going to be there for me.
But we've seen this in the past. I think, Anton, it was Bitfinex that they got hacked, and after how many years they got
it back.
They got the money back.
Yeah.
So if you put a lot of resources to this problem, you might be able to find the solution.
What I also understand is, in that context, is there's a lot of metadata that you can capture when there's a security breach or a security incident or a hack, let's say it like that, that can actually help you and support you in resolving the hack, right? So it's not just like, let's look at the blockchain, but there's IP addresses, for instance, a lot of other things that you can then, or even I know that sometimes hackers make mistakes.
Definitely.
They send their cryptos to a centralized exchange where they are maybe even onboarded, and that again discloses a lot of opportunities to recover the assets, which is kind of always ultimately the goal. Yeah,
definitely. Following the blockchain is one way to track, but actually some other way that we intervened with and helped in a couple of investigations before was specifically what you mentioned. Locating IPs, tracing them back to geolocation, tracing them back to a server, wherever those cyber criminals were cloning legitimate apps and putting fake fronts basically for their malware. There was a recent in August. There was a company that I'm not allowed to mention the name actually.
It's better not to mention it.
No. Well, that was the request.
Okay.
Where actually the whole C-suite of that, it's a layer 1 blockchain, by the way, and their C-suite got fooled by a very sophisticated social engineering attack where Russian hackers, that turned out to be from Russia, impersonated OKX Venture executives that wanted to invest in their project. And I mean, you're talking about seasoned C-suite executives that fell for it eventually, but they played it really well. They did the research. They were walking the walk, talking the talk, and sounding very, very genuine. And once the conversation started on the video chat through a Zoom or Google, they said, well, the decision maker from China wants to jump on the call, but he cannot use this because, in China, they cannot use this. Why don't you download this? And they send a video conferencing link. And they rushed to it. But, they worked them good. So these people were good deceivers. They were social engineering, ultimately. Another case, the recent hack of M2 Exchange.
Yes.
Well, we were eager to help. We're still waiting to hear back from them. We reached out through different means and ways. We know that they already hired a blockchain security firm to, follow the money and follow the funds. And what we do and how fast we do it, we think it would help them if they really want to geolocate these people. We actually contributed to finding these Russian hackers I described earlier. 2 of them have been arrested, and some of the money has been recovered.
So you informed the authorities in Russia?
We did not. We collaborated with the company that did the blockchain research and communicated with the law enforcement. We haven't. That's not really a core part of our business at all.
No, I just wanted to tell that it's, in the end of the day, it's a partnership. You will do your part, someone else will do its part, and then you will get them.
Marwan, maybe can you, for the audience, and everybody listening and watching us, can you tell us how does the interaction works? How is it to communicate with authorities? If you have a bit of insights, because I think this would be maybe very interesting for people, just high level, how does this dance happen that you recover the funds? Yeah.
Well, definitely. Well, it's a concerted effort. You have the blockchain that you can follow, and then you have the Web 2 component of the research and tracing. And as you said, hackers make mistakes and leave evidence. And some of them leave more than others. And that is going to basically determine how fast you're going to catch them or geolocate them. In this particular investigation, we were contacted by a mutual friend of ours. And she said, a very good friend of mine fell victim for this. Can you guys help? And we're like, okay, we'll take a look. This is not something we do. We do offensive security to prevent these things from happening. We try to teach and train our clients in not falling victim for these things with some social engineering training. But sometimes it takes the mindset of one hacker to catch another. A lot of these firms, security firms out there, that do incident response and recovery. They are reactive. They have methodology in place of how to step 1, step 2, step 3, what you're supposed to do in order to recover as soon as possible, if it's possible, because time is vital in this.
It's like kidnapping. The first 24 hours are the most important to get.
Definitely, especially when you're talking about blockchain and digital realm and moving digital assets around. So basically, in this case, we don't even market this as a service of ours, but we have started doing it for, I would not say pro bono really, because this is something that only people that know us and that are close to us are contacting us and saying, can you help, can you help? We helped in a couple of occasions. We didn't really ask for payment because it's not something that we offer. And it didn't take us more than a few hours to actually do some tracing that helped a lot. And within a couple of days, like we had a whole different cache of malwares and servers connected to the same group that was behind this hit. Now, sometimes the collaboration you asked about how this, how do you deal with law enforcement and whatnot? This other company that we have dealt with, because they were already hired by the victims before we intervened. Their job is to go out there and make relationships and introduce themselves to different law enforcement firms in different countries in order to let them know this is what we do. We're legit. We have collaborated with law enforcement before, and so that when the incident happens beforehand, you already have the contact in that specific law enforcement agency, in that specific country, in that specific city. So they actively do that. They even offered me, is like, hey, by the way, if you know people in certain law enforcement agencies here and there, connect us, we'll give you some money. I'm like, hey, I mean, like that's how motivated they are. It's a core part of their business, because even if these funds get transferred to an exchange, I'll give you an example in this particular incident. Imagine anybody calling an exchange and saying, hey, by the way, that wallet is flagged, it's a hacker, please freeze their account. You think that exchange is gonna do that?
No.
I mean, what if that account was legit and nothing happened? What would happen to their reputation when one of these account holders would scream, hey, why are you guys freezing my account? This is not... So unless they see a police report that says, you know what, this is a flagged account, please freeze that account, they're not going to do anything. And that's where establishing this relationship with the law enforcement agencies in different countries, and in some countries it's harder than others because of corruption, because of how easy it is to get anything done with a few, few notes. But basically, that's the gist of it. Like, there is a whole thing involved in it, and I will actually introduce you to a couple of the guys actually based here in Dubai that we have started collaborating on a couple of other incidents. Like, sometimes our offerings kind of complement each other, and we believe in good karma. Basically, I mean, they charge upfront for their services. We tell people, hey, let us see what we can do. This is not a service that we're charging for, but we're a startup. We're brand new. We've only been in Dubai for 2 years, and we're trying to make a name for ourselves, and we believe in good karma. We know a little bit of help would go a long way, and showing results and what we can do on a goodwill, especially in the Web3 space, which we're all very ideologically motivated to protect. And we'll get into that very soon. Is the main motivator, yeah.
So if we flash back to the M2 incident to tell to our audience, what happened there? How was this hack?
Can we speculate on the cause?
Can we speculate on the cause?
That, you mean with the M2?
Yes.
With M2, we have not investigated it yet
No.
because we have not gotten
Do you think it was
authorization.
phishing? Do you think it was insider job?
You're asking
This
tough
is
questions.
I mean, this is speculation. This is speculation right now. The most common vector of attack is one of their people fell victim to a malware attack. There's some social engineering involved. That's always the majority of attacks happen because of that. But I mean, with the frequency with which we actually get access to internal networks of these exchanges whenever we're doing testings or participating in their bug bounty programs, there are many ways that this can happen. But I would always suspect social engineering first. Inside job, I don't know. It's always a possibility. M2 is a super young exchange, and there is still like a lot of promise behind it. I'm not sure. Like I've heard some criticism not long ago before the hack about where they're at and where they were supposed to be and comparing them to other exchanges, but that's irrelevant from the security standpoint. I mean, for some UAE-based exchange, we were very excited to see the initiative, and we try to collaborate. But again, we don't blame them. We're a startup. We're not that famous or don't have the brand recognition that bigger names like Certic or Hacken or other have.
But Certic we don't like, in the crypto industry.
Oh yeah, I want to hear why.
But Certic has this ranking of protocols. I think even of the exchanges, where basically a ranking is bought in the way I understand it. So if you pay, then you get ranked high. Doesn't mean that if you paid for the ranking, they do a small audit, which doesn't mean that you are actually bulletproof, which sometimes that the ranking that they do applies, or Certic certified, I think it's called like that actually. And I do know they had a situation with Kraken where they penetrated through Kraken, I think through one of the hot wallets actually. And you know the story better. I think maybe you can mention it.
It wasn't a hot wallet exploit.
Okay.
They actually found a bug that allowed them to basically mint coins out of thin air. They were able to mint crypto out of thin air. So they didn't affect the funds of a particular user or a hot wallet. They were just able to create a balance in an account and then withdraw it. Create a balance and then withdraw it. They accumulated $3 million worth, withdrew it. And then what happened later was very fishy. That kind of put the bad light on them. Because one thing is, okay, you got the money out, which is in itself not necessary to prove impact. We never touched one penny from any exchange we ethically hacked. But we show them that we were one click of a button away from doing it, and there is no need to do that to actually touch the crypto. Now, in this case, not only did they touch the crypto, they pulled it out, and then what happened? They sent it to Tornado Cash. I mean, why would you do that whenever you're an ethical hacker and you're trying to prove impact? Like that screams.
If it was a dilemma, should we take them? Should
Right?
we take them?
So I don't know if they want to blame it on a particular ethical hacker of them, but we were pretty sure we were going to see the feds get involved because this is a U.S. exchange, and they are a U.S. company as well. I mean, after all, they're a multi-billion-dollar company.
There's even rumors that they are preparing to go public as well.
Right.
Yeah, there's rumors. I mean, we're not sure.
Right.
But this is the word on the street.
The other negative of that story is that they started negotiating with Kraken to say, okay, so what kind of reward you're going to give us? Now,
is this something that ethical hackers do just for? Okay, good.
No. This breaks every ethical hacking rule there is. All right, and that was the very surprising thing for us, is that okay, this might happen with a moms and pops shop or one researcher, security researcher on his own, who all of a sudden try to see how much he can get away with, but you're talking about it's a very thin line between having an arrest warrant or not.
Yes,
in this line of work, and in this particular instance, they started negotiating with the Kraken, and it's like extortion if you think, because I'm holding your money and I'm like not happy with what Kraken is telling me. No, come on, you can do better. This, that, like. So what this chief of security of Hacken did, not Hacken, Certic, Kraken. They sound so alike, Kraken and Hacken.
Let's just not mention the names that are not supposed to be mentioned there.
Right.
Go ahead, yeah.
Anyway, he put out a tweet without mentioning Certic, without mentioning them at all. He put out a tweet saying that, guess what? Some security researcher or ethical hacker just did this, pulled out $3 million, and now he's kind of negotiating, and this is messed up. This is like extortion. He did not say anything. And then you have the Certic tweeting back in public, releasing details about the actual bug, which is super unethical because, okay, like there are so many things that we cannot disclose about our findings. Like we can tell you, hey, we've ranked #1 on Binance Hall of Fame for top hackers. But how? What kind of bug did earn you that? Or how many bugs earned you that? We cannot discuss it out of ethical reasons.
Yes.
In this case, they made it such a public announcement, and they got tens of millions of people looking at this, and it was a scandal. Like, it's always good to see the big guy mess up sometimes. Let me tell you, me and the guys were laughing so hard when this happened, and but it's definitely not helping the ethical hacker community or helping exchanges trust and feel comfortable
And
working.
what happened in the end? They returned the money?
In the end, they returned the money. I mean, Kraken, they have a very healthy reward system. They pay up to $1.5 million for supercritical bugs reported. If you're not familiar with bug bounty programs, let me just give you a quick rundown.
Please, yes.
Yeah. So basically, you're crowdsourcing the white hat community, a white hat ethical hacker community around the world to come and participate in a particular program that allows you to hack them. You gotta follow certain guidelines and policies in order not to violate certain sensitive information disclosure and rules, or do kind of a disruptive testing that might cause interruption in the service.
Yes.
So basically, all of these big companies, not only in crypto, any kind of big tech company is inviting the ethical hacker community to try to hack them. And based on their findings, they offer a range of rewards, monetary rewards and reputational rewards. Every one of them has this Hall of Fame or top hackers list, which a lot of these ethical hackers, they want to have bragging rights. Look, we have a few of those. I'll do the promotion later. I'll do the promotion later.
Okay.
But and the monetary rewards, sometimes they are so puny and so little that we're shocked to see even in crypto, like some exchanges offering for the critical vulnerabilities. You have critical, you have high, you have medium, you have low, you have informational. And, depending on the impact that one bug that you report has, you will get a certain reward, monetary reward. It's crazy how different people value these kind of bugs and collaborations with these ethical hackers. Some exchanges will cap it up to $10,000. Like
For critical ones.
yes. Hold on.
Can you call out names, because this is ridiculous?
Yeah, it's public information.
Okay.
You can go to there.
Yeah.
Binance offers up to $10,000 in extreme, super critical cases where, oh my God, the sky fell down to the ground. They will pay $100,000 bonus. We got that 100,000, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, FYI.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Many other exchanges. Now we're talking about the big dog. That's the biggest and most money-making exchange there is right now. That's how much they price it. And people might say it's industry standard. The vast majority of exchanges, that's how much they pay. There are a few exceptions. Some people offer up to $1 million. Some of them 5,000. Some of them 1,500 for critical bugs. Imagine. Actually, I'm not gonna call him out, but I've met the CEO of, I wouldn't say top 20, but maybe top 50 exchange, who, heard what we do, and I was basically introducing and explained to him that sometimes, we reach access to hot wallets, and I was telling him, man, listen, like you have a very, very healthy volume on your exchange, and you guys have so much in reserves, but you're offering 1,500 for a critical. Like, who's gonna get out of bed for that?
Yeah.
When you have so many others offering bigger rewards. And he told me, if you can hack my hot wallets, I give you $10,000. I cracked up, like the movie, The Austin Powers.
$1 million.
Oh, no, yeah, that's right. So I couldn't believe it. I'm like, really, hot wallet, basically. So if I get my hands on 10, 100 million, you're gonna give me 10,000. Yes, awesome. Now, again, we're not greedy people. We're not trying always to say, oh, it's not always about the money. Ultimately, hate it or love it, decentralized exchanges are the number one source of onboarding new users onto Web3,
Yes.
onto crypto. Now, of course, you have all the Telegram mini apps that are playing a huge role in that. But in terms of people buying their first crypto and trying to do some trading, they're utilizing centralized exchanges, which tend to be a lot more user-friendly than these decentralized exchanges, from my own personal perspective. So making sure fewer of them get hacked is, we believe, makes a big impact on people that are on the fence, that still might have trust issues with jumping in or hearing a hack happening every day in this
What
space.
is the biggest reward you ever heard that people got from these
Got
exchanges?
The biggest reward?
that ever was given out. Yeah.
Well, we've gotten $1 million.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow.
That was, I cannot tell you from whom. Though.
No,
That's
please, please, we'll need to bleep everything.
It will be one of our next guests.
No.
Just joking.
No, but yeah, I'm not even sure if I can say that. But yes, no, my partner will forgive me.
Yeah.
We actually, there are a couple of exchanges that still offer big bounties like
But
that.
from the top 10 most popular cryptocurrency exchanges, let's say the Binance, the Kraken, the Coinbase, all of these guys, which is taking security more serious and who is offering like the best bounty program from what you hear in the
Or
street,
what you see.
what you see?
Well, let's talk about rewards. The highest rewards, I believe, right now are being offered by Coinbase, Kraken. OKX offers up to $1 million.
Mhm.
Now, the thing is, you can advertise, look, we pay up to this much. All right?
And then you will get everyone that want to hack you.
No. But look, it's, in my opinion, it's always better to have the ethical hacker community motivated to come and try to win that reward.
For sure.
But offering high rewards doesn't always translate to really, being a man or an entity of your word and paying it. One of the problems we deal with is this. Understand the two sides of the coin here when you're talking about reporting a very critical bug. And the security, the InfoSec employees of the exchange, that their job is to receive these reports and try to do something called triage and verify that it is actually a verifiable bug and that it has the impact that the researcher is saying. It's a challenge we always find because there is always conflict of interest, all right? Because these people, it's their job to keep the exchange safe. When they have researchers reporting bugs, severe bugs, it's kind of reflecting bad on them. And their immediate reaction, their defensive reaction, is to try to minimize the impact, dismiss it as, no, you cannot do that with that, this, that. So basically, you have very high value bugs and findings being submitted to these exchanges that are being shot down out of self-preservation. Unfortunately, the better you are and the bigger impact bugs you find, it's good for the security of the exchange, but it might reflect negatively on the defensive team whose job is to make sure that these bugs are not there. Now, this happens also on very high levels, not only from the InfoSec. Sometimes in these big companies, you have even CISO positions, Chief Information Security Officer positions, that are so invested in their personal brand, they put that in front of the overall exchange security. And some people don't want to work with us because of the findings that we find. And sometimes showing how good you are might reflect negatively on the personal image, which is, honestly, it's wrong. It's wrong to blame the defender because it's so much easier to be the attacker. We can be wrong 99% of the time. We gotta be right one time out of 100. And then we're in. And we're in, depending on how well you can escalate your privileges, lateral movement, reach higher and higher access, you can do a higher and higher impact and prove that. the defender has to be right 100% of the time, which is impossible. It's virtually impossible. There is no such thing as, okay, you are bulletproof. In cybersecurity, this does not exist. Even our clients, which honestly, like whenever we are under contract with the client, we're doing long-term audits. Like what we're trying to do, instead of doing this compliance, looking good on paper audits that once or twice a year you gotta do so that you can get your compliance taken care of, is basically offer the continuous assessment, continuous security audit assessment, where we basically become an extension of their blue team, but we are the red team. And we have this synergy and we're collaborating on a long-term engagement. It's not every exchange can do that. It's a considerable investment, but outsourcing and bringing in fresh eyes from outside that can give you a perspective on your security, that your team that's there every day keep looking at the same infrastructure. They're emotionally invested in what they built. Imagine, like they build this castle and they're very emotionally invested in it. This is their job. If you come and start criticizing it or finding holes in it, it's a good thing to improve their security, but human nature sometimes it's a barrier to the best interest of the exchange. So these are some of the challenges that we deal with. And Coinbase, coming back to the highest rewards, Coinbase, Kraken, OKX, out of the top 10, I believe they are they offer the highest reward. How much does that translate? Every one of these people have a bug bounty program. Some of the most popular ones are HackerOne, you have Bugcrowd, you have Immunify, which is more Web3 focused. And then you have also Hack&Proof, which is a sister company or a part of the Hacken group. And you gotta see also how much rewards they offer, how many reports they submitted, but how much did they really pay out? And then you see if it's okay, they're just doing it for PR purposes. Mm-hmm. Most of our best clients is people who have been hacked before, and they have this PTSD where they know how valuable these reports are because, okay, they've tasted it. They've tasted it. Yeah.
I liked one thing that you said is that it takes a hacker to catch a hacker, but you have to have an ethical mind, you know?
Right.
And I really think there was such a powerful statement when you said it. But also I noticed one thing when you said as well, is said, you will not believe what's happening in those exchanges, right? Mm-hmm. And that if I understand you correctly, like you would never recommend, let's say we're not making recommendations here, but I think like to be precautious, it's not wise or smart at all to keep your cryptos on an exchange. If I kind of have to say, you know, considering what you have seen.
Yeah, well, unless you are trading on a daily basis. Yeah.
But can I even jump in here? Because, for instance, there are certain service providers, we'll mention their names, not all of them, but for instance, Copper and Fireblocks offer off-exchange settlements. So you keep your cryptos with Fireblocks or Copper. They're mirrored to the exchange. So you don't have to keep your cryptos on an exchange. But then you have the fortunate or unfortunate risk with Copper and Fireblocks, for instance, right? So I kind of feel like it's difficult, even if you're a professional trader. You want to do the best, but then you keep it with these other ladies and guys, and you just have different types of attacks from a security perspective. I could understand it, yeah?
Definitely. These are platforms we haven't really tried to test yet, but we are very interested because, even some of our clients have started some sort of collaboration with them to a certain extent, and they're testing out their service. Mm-hmm. And it's actually gonna become part of our duty or responsibility to make sure they are resilient. But you either gotta get explicit permission from them before testing them. This is part of the ethical hacking rules. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or if they have a bug bounty program, it's basically they're free for all. They're inviting everybody. We don't need a direct permission to test them. But we would love the chance to test Fireblocks.
Maron, give me an opportunity. So we're giving this public invitation for, I mentioned 2 service providers, Koppers and Fireblocks, but there are many other. I think this is a great opportunity to invite them with the goal of improving the industry and improving the standard of security, because these service providers are becoming critical pieces of the digital asset infrastructure. I do know that a lot of these traditional finance service providers, banks, are onboarding such service providers. And I think it will be of value to the industry, not calling out these particular service providers in particular, but I think all of them, to uplift the standard, because you as an expert, I have identified it, right? That this is not happening and it should be happening perhaps. You know?
Right, definitely. Another thing I want to add to that, talking about exchanges and what would you recommend. I mentioned to you earlier in our elevator talk that you will not believe how easy it is to hack these exchanges. Now, this might sound controversial, but every time we're doing any kind of testing or trying even some new exchange that just for the bug bounty, you know, we're collecting notches with these bug bounty rankings, where it's helping us with our PR, because we're a bootstrapped company. We don't have any outside investors, and all of our marketing is done through performance, basically. Mm-hmm. It's like show what we can do and then do it. So we're trying to collect more number ones. Mm-hmm. All right.
But please mention when you're number one, because I think it's a very interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're actually Binance, Bybit, OKX, OKCoin, and KuCoin. Well, HTX and Poloniex, after they got hacked last year, we bypassed the bounty phase. We actually got introduced to Justin Sun, and actually were able to start right away with them on a partnership level. Even Tron Network, we're actually security partners as well. But in terms of bug bounty number ones, it's 5 entities right now, and going after the 6. I will disclose that when we get it, because I don't want to jinx it. But one thing I was actually thinking about the other day was to put out a controversial or eye-grabbing post, inviting our followers or people we interact with on LinkedIn or on social media. Who should we hack next? Okay, and crowdsource it. Crowdsource it. I told in close circles of friends and people. Now I'm saying it a bit more openly, obviously. So far, we have not failed to. And when I say hack, what do I mean by hack? Hack has a very bad connotation. Mm-hmm. Actually, breach the exterior, the external network of an exchange, and be able to access their internal network, be able to see secrets, be able to see sensitive data, be able to even manipulate certain things. That's what I mean by hacking. I don't mean getting in there and draining wallets, all right? The capability of doing that is there, but that's not our goal. That's our goal is to report them and help them fix them as soon as possible. But as of now, we have not failed to do that in more like 7 days has been probably the longest time it took us to actually get in there. And what do I mean by us? I don't mean the whole team. I mean our top 2 ethical hackers in the team. They have not failed. Some exchanges within hours, some exchanges within 24 hours, 2 days. And let me tell you,
I think the audience will be shocked.
I think this was the best sales pitch for your service ever, actually. Awesome.
I mean, it might sound like a big check we're writing, and I hope our clients are not going to hate us for this, but I commend them, because they're our clients and they're seeing the value and they're having us testing them continuously. But we like it's just a fact of the thing, and it's not like we are. I'm not trying to say we are the best. We are not. I'm sure there is a lot of people that are great.
But this is a little bit controversial, because if an exchange or an entity goes through the ICO standards and do the whole audit, and they have the CISO and they believe they're bulletproof, and you come and you hack them, it means that these standards are not up to the level there should be.
There is a big difference between PR, nice shiny seals audited by such and such and audited by such and such for compliance purposes, and you know what? Somebody audited with security in mind. A lot of these audits happen by companies with big brand recognition, and they are accepted more by the industry as okay. Why? Because they have this brand awareness, and their users expect to see this seal of approval. So I understand that, and I'm not trying to diss or talk bad about bigger companies doing audits. There are a lot of talented people there. But from our experience, all of the people we hacked have already been audited by these big companies. And it doesn't mean that if they've been audited, they should never be hacked again, because new applications, new iterations, new updates happen on a daily basis. The bigger the exchange, the easier it is to hack. Simple as that. Because there are more attack surface. And more so it does sound controversial. And let me just tell you, I mean, I'm gonna call it as it is. Honestly, like, we are shocked that these people don't get hacked more often, that we don't see them more often in the news, this such and such exchange or such and such exchange. And then we think, oh my God, they're so lucky that it's us. Oh my God, they're so lucky that we found it and not somebody else. And then you try to submit it, and through it, you know, create a conversation to start a partnership. And you get all this pushback from these people in InfoSec. Oh my God, no, we don't want to deal with you. You're going to make us lose our job. And it's a challenge that we deal with, unfortunately. And not only us. How we started, our origin story, just to,
please.
You know, like security researchers, bug bounty, that's what you call ethical hackers. Security researchers, bug bounty hunters are treated like bugs in a lot of these platforms. They are seen as, okay, we're just crowdsourcing it. There is a lot of people doing this and paying very puny rewards compared to the impact of the findings they're submitting. And we decided to try to change that and change the approach and bring some of our most talented people working under one umbrella and introduce ourselves as a cybersecurity company that is specialized in hacking, specifically exchanges. Like, you don't get to become, like, there is luck involved, let me be honest. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes the security researcher decided to start testing certain scope, and he found a vulnerability right there. And sometimes even a more skilled security researcher will spend weeks researching the wrong scope, and he won't find a vulnerability. So it's not just about skill. There is a bit of luck involved, but, you know, consistently finding ways to hack exchanges, it's kind of giving us a small little PhD in exchange hacking. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And we learn so much from every previous exploit and not all exchanges are copy paste and white label, although many of them are. But through previous exploits, we learn more and more about ways that the next exchange can be hacked. And that is what it's making it shorter and shorter. Like, at the beginning, it took us a while to be able to find a way in. But as we're progressing and more exchanges are being hacked, as our experience is growing in this specific field, it's taking us less and less time. And, you know, that's why I was talking about this eye-grabbing potential crowdsourcing. Who do you want us to hack next? You know, that is not already a client of ours, or that we haven't ranked number one on their bug bounty yet. But I don't know. Will the exchanges hate us for saying this?
Probably yes. Probably yes.
I'm not even sure I can invite you to my parties nowadays.
No.
But it's a very good idea for a campaign. Anton,
So,
what did
Marwan,
you bring us here?
First, I wanted to our goal is also to try to educate our community and our audience. So we're not giving advices, especially not financial advices, but I brought here a few tools. So these are hardware wallets, actually, if I can call them correctly. So here we have, these are all gifts, by the way. So it's not like I purchase or endorse any of those, but this is the one from Blockstream. So actually, this is the older version. So you just plug it in. It's like, here we have a nice stick. So by the way, this is an older version. So you can play around here. You have a nice screen. You can put your cryptos there. This is the old one from Trezor, if you can identify it. So there's no cryptos on any of those. So this is just,
Can you switch it on?
You cannot actually, because it has to be hooked up actually for it to work actually. So this is from Trezor. And finally, Ledger had the persona to give me the nicest also box there. And this is also nice. This is a newer one, by the way, actually. So I don't know if you can see it. So tell us, Marwan, how can our audience, is this some of the things that they can use to store their cryptos in cold storage? Are there any other tools they should be using also maybe in general? You mentioned also to use a separate device, which I thought was actually a really, really good idea. But these are just some of the tools that are at disposal for the community. So would love to hear your thoughts from that personal experience or something, how you see it. Yeah.
Sure. I'm not particularly endorsing or
of course,
promoting any particular one of them because I'm not in a position, I'm not an expert on actually a specific hardware, but we're familiar with Ledger. I believe most of our teams use it, although there has been some controversial.
Please say.
Huh?
Please do say it.
Oh well, this is repeating your words. Trying to implement a seed recovery function that would open the door to a whole new attack vector that would make the whole concept of a hardware wallet and disconnected wallet, redundant, or it wouldn't be the case anymore. That said. Sometimes less is more, right?
Okay.
When it comes to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
The downside of these cold wallets is that you are responsible for the custody. You have a big responsibility. Some people are comfortable with it, some people are not, and they prefer not dealing with that. But ultimately, I do recommend any kind of cold wallet storage, cold storage wallet, hardware wallet, with the least iterations, with the simpler, the better, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Even trying to make them more user friendly. I love the old style ones, and until there is some discovered or published exploit, I would not worry about changing. And in terms of seed phrases, there was actually a recent update on the Amos malware, which specifically targets macOS users, where it was launched last year. Actually, the first time that it appeared, it was last year. And this year, it was relaunched. I mentioned to you earlier, some of these malwares are available for rent.
Yes. By the way, when you said it, I was shocked, actually.
Yeah,
so please, I think audience would be love to maybe.
Definitely. Last year, when it first appeared, it was being marketed on one of these Telegram channels. And it was available for like $1,000 USDT per month. It was like a rented, and then they would get a cut of whatever they would get.
Malware as a service.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Wow.
And this year, they actually released a new version of it. Amos, I would call it 2.0, which is even harder to detect. And that makes it a lot more dangerous because a lot of the antiviruses that would flag it have a lot of a harder time to do that now whenever you're trying to double check on any kind of antivirus. And the new and the more dangerous added feature of it is that it's capable of downloading your Ledger Live application. It's not trying, it would never access the actual cold storage wallet, but it's actually being able to exfiltrate data from your Ledger Live, which is something dangerous. And it's not, I believe, just Ledger specific. It's just these malwares are getting more and more sophisticated, and we need to. That's why you mentioned earlier the segregation of the devices. It's something that sounds very I believe it would reduce considerably the attack vector of malware, because if you're just using that for your crypto transactions, for your trading, and you're not doing any kind of messaging, downloading programs
browsing.
or other apps,
Mm-hmm.
it is connected to the internet ultimately, but usually for a malware to work, unless it's something like Pegasus, which is a no-click thing, and that's a whole different chapter. It's a spying software. You need to interact with it, and to interact with it, you need to surf the web, download certain applications, and that's where you.
But if a company hires you, you are able to get the mobile phones, the laptops, the servers, and check if there is malware.
It's not a core service that we offer, but we have done that, and we can do that. We just don't market that as a service that we offer. Our primary service is doing testing of these platforms, smart contract audits, wallet audits. But like, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a friend of mine who's coming from Lebanon who just got hacked very badly. Very successful guy, actually, world famous architect. That it seems that he's been attacked by a whole team of hackers. One of his business partners, actually got him involved, like ruined him basically. Like, they infiltrated all of his devices, and he's actually like been trying to get our help, and our first point of investigation at this point is examining the devices, and that's something that we can do and we would do. But to be honest, we have not really marketed that. There is a lot of people that can do that, and not as many people that can do what we do when it comes to certain platforms, and that's where we're trying to focus on the niche where we offer.
No, it's very understandable. I mean,
Right.
do what you know best.
Right. And additional things that we do, it's not necessarily as a commercial service, but then again, you gotta be within the circle of close friends and the family, and if you ever need us, you're getting closer and closer. Just let us know. Hopefully, you never need us for this.
It's like talking to lawyers. Marwan, I have to ask you about the name of the company.
Yes.
Fears Of.
Mhm.
Tell us the story, please. Sorry that I diverged
Not
a little
at
bit,
all.
but I just felt also that.
Not at all. Actually, this is all about the co-founder, and I would say the brain and engine behind our company. His last name is Firzov, and that's spelled differently. And when we were talking about establishing this, he's like, "Man, this I think we can do something with the name, with my name. Like, imagine Fears Of." At first, it sounded weird to me. I'm like, "Hey, what about my name?" Right? But then I mean, it made perfect sense.
Mhm.
I mean, why not? It was a two-man show at the beginning,
Mhm.
and he's doing most of the lifting when it comes to ethical hacking. He's very, very well known in the ethical hacker groups in Russia. He's from Russia, and we decided to stick with it. We're like, why not? It's catchy. Fears Of. You don't see too many company names that try to say, okay, what is the equivalent of peace of mind, or don't worry, or security? Fears Of. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive.
I think when I was young, I was wearing this T-shirt, "No Fear."
No fear, right?
Maybe next time you will bring me one, Fear Of.
I will send you one of ours. I will definitely send you one.
So I think this concludes our session today,
Yes.
and we want to thank you for coming to our show and for being such a lovely guest. So thank you very much.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. It's
And
been a blast.
Like, I also wanted to tell you that I think the vibe was great today, and the discussion. And really, thanks very much for sharing a lot of these insights and details. I learned a lot. Demetrius, how I think, like, oh, you didn't learn much from us, but
I'm gonna comment about the show after the cameras.
okay.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
was
been-
looking forward to hearing you guys talk. I'm sorry I
Amazing.
did a lot
No,
of
no,
talking here.
You did great. Yeah.
That's why
Awesome.
we brought you here.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you very
Pleasure-
much.
pleasure
And
to be
really,
here.
and hopefully we repeat this. And really, it was great to have you. Thanks.
We
a lot,
should
Marwan.
repeat it when you earn the 6.
When we have news, actually, right? So
Yes.
you teased us very
When you be
nicely.
number 1 in the 6th exchange, then we will definitely need to bring you here.
100%.
Looking
And
forward
and
to
talk
it.
to us about the experience.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.